Are you surrounded by idiots? Oftentimes, the only thing more frustrating than the ambivalence of your team is when they leave and you have to scramble to replace them. Is the world just overrun by people who either don't care about anything or are only into whatever benefits them the most? Or are you the problem in this whole equation? I think the root cause is actually something different. Welcome to the Next Level Executive Podcast, a show dedicated to dentists who want to evolve from a clinician who owns a practice into an executive who leads a business. I'm your host, Perrin. If you own a practice that generates over $1 million in revenue and you're wondering what's next, you're in the right place. You live in a world of a service-driven business, and healthcare services is arguably the most personal, emotional, and consequential of all service businesses. You provide a service that your customer really doesn't understand, and most of them don't fully appreciate. To make matters worse, or even more challenging, your team delivers the vast majority of those services and is involved in almost all of the interactions with your customers. Your business is highly people-centric in every way imaginable. When you have a high level of either underperformance or turnover on your team, it can be problematic for morale, detrimental to the continuation of care, and catastrophic for cash flow. Look, granted, I'm not a dentist and I've never run a healthcare practice, but I've lived through the same frustrations and anxieties that many of you consistently experience. Maybe unlike many of you, I evolved over the course of about a decade in the way I thought about recruiting, team building, culture, management, and leadership. And yeah, a comprehensive solution takes every single one of those. Many of you have heard me talk about my experiences as a young executive running 3 different businesses for Patterson Dental Supply. My first one was in Richmond, Virginia, when I was only 31 years old. You've heard me, not so eloquently, refer to this as a dumpster fire with a front door, which is probably being generous, honestly. One thing I don't think I've talked about previously was my first 18 months on the job, and they were brutal. Honestly, it's a period of my life and my career I'd like to almost forget. The Richmond branch had about 50 people working in it in a variety of capacities, and in those first 18 months, over half of the people either left or I terminated. I think it was about 26 or 27 people in total, which is more than 1.5 every month. Think about that for a second. Lot of turnover. To make matters worse, those who left all went to work for the competitor. Not a great scenario whatsoever. So when you have an employee who knocks on your door and says, "Got a minute?" I can relate to that queasy feeling you all get. I did too. Like many of you, I scrambled to fill the hole as quickly as I could, and I turned over a few of those too. And then something changed in the way I thought about this quagmire, something that I don't think has hit many of you yet. The complete lack of culture in the Richmond branch of Patterson turned out to be an asset. I know, that's really odd to say, isn't it? Hopefully none of you have that same fundamental issue, but in this case, it worked in my favor because I could use the volume of people I was going to have to recruit as the opportunity to build a new floor and to create a new culture in the way that I wanted it to be built. I didn't have to adapt what I was doing to something that someone else had created that was successful. Believe me, trust me when I tell you, there was nothing successful about the prior regime's culture. Regardless of whether the culture in your business is strong or is lacking, you have to approach every person you recruit, every person, from a standpoint of either adding to or detracting from the culture you're trying to create. Strong culture is mutually reinforcing, and it takes some of the load off of you as a leader from having to police everything that goes on mentality. Put another way, a business with a strong culture is actually easier to run, period. It's critical that you realize this and embrace what I'm saying here. I don't talk about culture a lot, either on this podcast or elsewhere, but I do believe in it a lot. You have to as well. The second side of this same coin is a quote that I've shared on numerous occasions, both within the executive program and on this podcast, because it was my guiding principle in rebuilding the Richmond branch of Patterson, and it should be yours as well. The quote comes from Herb Kelleher, the late CEO of Southwest Airlines, and he's famous for saying, "Hire for attitude, train for skill." I'll say it again. Hire for attitude, train for skill. Almost everyone gets that backwards because they think the role they're hiring for is so unique that nobody can possibly learn how to do it. Or if you have two capable candidates, you should pick the one most proficient in the task. That's totally wrong. Yes, you have to hire people who are licensed to provide certain services in your business. That's different from where I come from. But that's not what I'm talking about here. To paraphrase Simon Sinek's great quote, you're not looking for people who buy into what you do. You're looking for people who buy into why you do it. You certainly want people who can perform the task, but what you really want is that something inside of them that brings the right attitude to work every day. The person who wants to be a great teammate, the person who smiles at your patients, the person who's warm and inspires confidence, the person who cares, the person who says yes to whatever you ask of them. You can't coach that. You can't incentivize that. And it's incredibly hard to develop. They either have it or they don't. You need to look for it. You need to wait for it. When it comes to recruiting, that's the first line on the job description. People with the right attitude make establishing culture easy, and they're typically more open-minded about change, the change that you're going to want to lead in the future. If you think I'm off base on this, or just living in the clouds, let me share some insights from two other names you might recognize, and maybe even respect more than mine: Warren Buffett and Jack Welch. Buffett and Welch are certainly two different people from two different eras in two totally different businesses. Buffett is an iconic investor, and Welch was an industry titan on a global scale. But you can very easily take a page out of their playbook when it comes to the characteristics they looked for in their key teammates. When asked about recruiting people at Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's reply was, hire for high intelligence, high integrity, and high energy. You have to have all three. The worst thing you can have is not low energy, low intelligence, and low integrity, but high intelligence, high energy, and low integrity. They're working hard and smart at doing the worst things for your business. Buffett has a way with words. So follow his maxim. Hire for high intelligence, high integrity, and high energy. Notice he doesn't say anything about analytical or technical skills in there. Ask yourself what kind of attitude you think someone with high intelligence, high integrity, and high energy brings to work every day. Jack Welch was the former CEO and chairman of General Electric in the 80s and 90s and was regarded as being the best leader in corporate America. I did a lot of my MBA work back in the late 90s and early 2000 on Welch and his tenure at GE, and while my work wasn't remarkable, his tenure sure as heck was. When asked about the people he wanted on his leadership team around him, he looked for 4 characteristics, which he referred to as the 4 E's. The 4 E's. And they were energy, energize, execute, and edge. I'll say them again. Energy, energize, execute, and edge. What did he mean by that? Well, he wanted people who would bring a high level of energy to their business or team, and he wanted them to be able to energize those around him. High energy people are typically infectious, and they get the same results out of others. So Welch was looking for people who'd bring a high level of energy to their business or team, and he wanted them to be able to energize those around him. Energizing others is all about attitude. He looked for people who could execute and deliver on the results that the business needed. That's what you're looking for as well. And finally, Welch wanted leaders with what he called edge. He wanted leaders with what he called edge, the confidence to make difficult decisions and lead from out front. Again, Welch also doesn't say anything about analytical or technical skills. What kind of attitude do you think someone with high energy and edge brings to work every day? For me and my travails in the Richmond branch of Patterson, the first thing I had to adjust was actually what I wanted in the people I recruited. No longer was it going to be technical proficiency or even dental industry experience, but the attitude that would support the culture I felt I needed to create. There was a second, equally important adjustment I needed to make, which I'll tell you about in just a second. But just like you adjusting your recruiting perspective, a few months ago, I chose to make an adjustment in the way I crafted and delivered this podcast. I hope it's making an impact on you, and I hope you like it. One of my early stage goals with the relaunch is to get to 50 5-star reviews on Apple and 25 5-star reviews on Spotify, and to do it within the first 60 days, which is by the end of July 31st. As of this recording, I'm at 32 5-star reviews on Apple and 12 on Spotify. So if you value the content I'm sharing, please scroll down in your app on your phone and tap the 5-star button. Your rating helps the show get ranked for others who are searching for this same kind of content. So if my thought leadership makes a difference for you, just know that your rating makes a big difference for me. Honestly, one of the things that keeps me going too is the actual reviews themselves, like when T. Brown DMD said, "The best in the business." Whether you're looking to add your first associate or beyond, Perrin provides the thought leadership that's essential to navigating the complexities of practice growth. Each episode's thought-provoking and sure to spark creative thought or perspective not previously considered. I know who that T. Brown DMD is, so thanks for that, Tom. I appreciate it. And I'd love to hear from the rest of you as well, so leave a shout out if you feel compelled. So if the first key takeaway is to simply prioritize attitude over skills, the second is to adopt a mindset that you're in the talent management business. Being in the talent management business means that you're always recruiting, even when you don't have an opening or a need. Yeah, you heard me correctly. You should be recruiting even when you don't have an opening. Here's the dirty little secret. You may not have an opening or a need right here, right now, today, but you will very soon. You're just not aware of it yet. If you start recruiting only after someone tenders their resignation or after you terminate them, you're already months behind. You think recruiting means offering someone a job. It doesn't. It means networking. It means building relationships. It means connecting with people when there's nothing on the line. Your goal is to find people who are presently employed, but they're not an owner. Look, I love Indeed as much as the next guy. But did it ever occur to you that those who are on these job boards are there for a reason? Why are they looking for a job? Because they don't have one. And they might not have one for a reason. The best candidates are most likely currently employed. There are a ton of capable clinicians with great attitudes that are suffering with a below-average team around them and an owner who couldn't care less about their development. They may not be looking for a job right now, but if the right one came calling at the right point in time, then, well, you never know. Your goal is to always have 4 or 5 of these non-candidates in your list. They're your first call when an opening arises. Do you believe in your business? Do you believe in what you do, how you do it, and why you do it? If so, get out there and start telling people about it. When you shift from a reactive stance to being proactive about recruiting, you magically start uncovering a higher quality of candidate. And when you're able to take your time to find the ones with the best attitude who will best fit your culture, then you start building a tighter fabric around what matters most in your business. Those who believe what you believe turn over less often. The business becomes easier to run because it's more stable. Everything I'm telling you right now, I proved to myself in those early years turning around the Richmond branch of Patterson. I used the same approach over the next decade in turning around the Metro New York, New Jersey branch, as well as the Charlotte branch. Same philosophy, same system, 3 different businesses with different needs in dramatically different markets. Success leaves clues. In my opening statement, I asked, is the world just overrun by people who either don't care about anything or are only into whatever benefits them most, or are you the problem in this whole equation? I said I thought the root cause was something different. You want to know the answer? The answer, the root cause, is that you're recruiting the wrong people. Be proactive, not reactive. Hire for attitude, not for skill. In last week's episode, I talked about the primary reasons why so many partnerships fail. I hope this episode gives you a better understanding as to why your associate, in fact, isn't necessarily the right fit from the very beginning. If these episodes are making your head spin because you've got a candidate you're going to have the discussion with sometime soon, then your next step is to join us in the upcoming quarter of the Next Level Executive Program, which is on the theme of partnership and ownership. It's 12 weeks of thought leadership and intense discussions just like this that give you better command and control of the subject matter. And it's not too late to join us if you're interested. In addition to that theme in the Foundations program, every week we also talk a lot about entrepreneurial leadership of the business we're currently building, the risks we're taking, and who is actually paying the price for all of it. And that's usually our families. Everyone in this audience is an achiever. None of us have ever failed to meet a goal that we set. And then at some point in our mid-40s to early 50s, we start to question what we're doing. Worse yet, we start to question why we're actually doing it. Have we created our own prison? This is the point where the deficit in your bank account pales in comparison to the deficit of your confidence. I know because I've been there too. So don't lose hope, because on the next episode, I'll share a rescue plan for your mid-career crisis. If you're wondering what's next for you and your business, the answer's waiting for you on the Next Level Executive Podcast.